A few weeks ago, we tested Ford's big behemoth F-250. It's one of the most capable trucks on the market, and I was certainly impressed by it. But today, we have its mini-me, the Ford Maverick, and we're gonna find out why this should be your first truck. With a starting price of 35,000 Canadian dollars or 24,000 USD, the Ford Maverick is the most affordable pickup truck on the market. This, however, is the Lariat trim, a very well-equipped Lariat trim with the terrain color and a Tremor package, which would set you back closer to 50,000 Canadian dollars. Aside from the standard LED headlights, this Maverick looks quite different compared to the standard model up front, thanks to the Tremor package. Some hood decals up here and gold accents for the grille as cosmetic changes, but more importantly, a completely redesigned front bumper along with tow hooks for a significantly better approach angle, perfect for off-roading. One cool thing is also here in the center there is a little black box that writes Radar ACC, which I find is a pretty unique design. Walking over to the side, the gold theme continues. Not only do you get a gold Lariat badge, you also get gold accented rims. These are 17-inch rims wrapped in 235 wide all-terrain tires. The suspension is also raised an inch because of the Tremor package. Up front you get McPherson strut, and then in the rear you get a multi-link suspension. Something to note is that if you go for the front-wheel drive version, you only get a torsion beam suspension for the rear. And then over here, a big Tremor logo, just so everybody knows you're a fearless off-roader. When it comes to capacities and capabilities, the Ford Maverick has a payload rating of 1,200 pounds and a towing capacity of 2,000 pounds. If you want more towing capacity, you can option the 4K tow package instead of the Tremor pack for up to 4,000 pounds of towing. Now, some people say that the Maverick bed is too short, too small, useless, yada yada yada. I respectfully disagree. To put into perspective, the Ford Maverick bed is 4.5 feet long, the Ranger standard bed is 5 feet long, and the F-150 standard bed is 5.5 feet long, which is just about this much difference compared to the F-150. Now, of course, the width is significantly less compared to an F-150, compared to the bigger trucks, but I still think that this is a very usable space, very usable amount of space, would be perfect for, say, a person who owns a small landscaping business. As usual, before we get into the interior, let's talk about powertrain options. For the Maverick, you get a hybrid variant or a non-hybrid variant. The hybrid variant is a 2.5-liter inline-4 Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder paired with electric motors to produce a combined 191 horsepower, but you can only get that in front-wheel drive. The other option is what we have here, a 2-liter EcoBoost turbo engine putting out 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. Power is routed through an 8-speed automatic transmission to an all-wheel drive system. With the Tremor package that we have, the all-wheel drive system also features a 4-wheel drive lock as well as a rear differential lock. Great for off-roading. Before seeing the Maverick in person, I was definitely a little worried about the second row space. However, as you can see, I'm 5'9" and I fit in here just fine. Plenty of leg room and great amount of headroom. Now, as with all pickup trucks, you do sit quite straight up. But what's nice about here is that you get pretty comfortable leatherette seats, as well as these cool gold color stitching from the Tremor pack. You also get some decent amount of storage as well. Just lift up the seat here, storage space, and then you also get an extra little bit of storage space. Really not much here, but a bit if you fold down the seats. Up front, you get some nice features like heated seats, heated steering wheel, a B&O sound system, a wireless charger, a neat little phone stand down here, as well as a large Tremor embroidery on your seats, which I find pretty cool. However, that's pretty much where the goodness ends. The entire cabin feels pretty plasticky. The screens are not only small but also low resolution, 6.5-inch for the cluster and 8-inch for the infotainment. They also don't support wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto because they're running the older Sync 3 system. To make things worse, they also didn't bother to paint the door handles. So this is just black plastic. I think for $50,000, I expected a little bit more. Okay, I think that's enough sitting. Let's go for a drive. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned that this makes a very good first truck. And upon driving it, the reasons become quite apparent. Compared to the F250 we tested a few weeks ago, or even an F150, this Maverick is so nimble and so much more easy to maneuver. It's fantastic to drive. No longer do you have to take extra wide turns and worry about scraping your rims or the vehicle being too long. Your blind spots are way smaller, and you also don't have to worry about being too tall for indoor parking. When it comes to power, the 250 horsepower, although is not best in class, it is still very adequate for this size of trucks. Just like that. There is a little bit of turbo lag, but not very noticeable. What is noticeable, however, is the mechanical noises from the engine and transmission. Compared to other inline fours, this 2-liter is on the rougher side. When the engine and transmission is cold, I even hear some gear noises and gear sounds, kind of like I'm driving a sequential box. Now, I would say that this is not all bad because these mechanical sounds does make the Maverick feel a little bit more rugged. The 8-speed transmission is not the fastest, nor is it the smoothest to shift. However, it is very eager to downshift when I need it to, which is great. If you have the 4-wheel drive lock selected, from my observations, you do get an even 50-50 split between front and rear power distributions. In the city, this Maverick does around 11 or 12 liters per 100 kilometers, which is in line with what it's rated for. But on the highway, however, it managed a fantastic 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which I'm thoroughly impressed with. Considering that this has all-terrain tires and a slightly lifted suspension, I would assume that other Mavericks without the Tremor package would get even better fuel efficiency. In terms of the ride quality, I think it sort of strikes a happy balance between feeling like a crossover and feeling like a truck. To be expected, the suspension is on the stiffer side, but because this uses a unibody structure design, it absorbs vibration and bumps very well, making this very composed on the road. Ford's Copilot 360 suite is also standard on the Lariat trim, which includes adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, lane centering, blind spot warning, emergency braking, rear parking sensors, all that good stuff. The adaptive cruise control is stop and go, and it works quite well, which means that it gives me enough confidence to use on a regular basis, which is very important. Something to note is that only in the Lariat trim do you get adaptive cruise control. Even if you option the Ford Copilot 360 in the lower trims, you don't get adaptive cruise control. Overall, I think the Ford Maverick presents itself as a pretty compelling option for an entry-level truck. The smaller size and the added agility compared to a full-size truck makes it really easy to transition from a sedan or a crossover into this. $50,000 though? I don't know. I think I'd either get a mid-trim Ranger for the same price or step it down to an XLT trim of this Ranger with one or two options to keep the price at around 40,000 Canadian dollars. What do you guys think? How does this stack up to the Hyundai Santa Cruz? The Hyundai Santa Cruz has a little bit more power and can tow a little bit more, but has an even shorter bed? Let me know down in the comments below, and as usual, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.